All right, we're back with Red Weather Radio, and we've got some updates on the Kyle story coming out of Wisconsin. I'm actually not up to date on what's going on with Kyle, but you are beat, so I'm just gonna throw this one right over to you. Tell me what's going on.
So now we have the fully clear picture. So there were some slight inaccuracies with what was said, and now we have the full timeline. So the third person, the mystery person, I was trying to figure out if it was before or after. It was actually before, and what led to the incident of Kyle being charged by a bunch of people on the ground and being knocked on the ground, pursued to begin with. And there was a projectile that was thrown at him that appeared to be a Molotov cocktail. However, it appears upon further scrutiny this was a bottle in a bag. I believe a glass bottle in a bag, so some sort of makeshift weapon it seems. And in the video, it's very difficult to piece out anything that goes on in the video. You can hear several shots pop off before anything. And what's been pointed out, and this has been confirmed by Rittenhouse and his legal representation himself, and you can see it in the video. It's very difficult, but if you look at the exact right spot, you can see it. There was a muzzle flash while the Rosenbaum, the pedophile, was charging Kyle, and that caused Kyle to turn around because he heard a gunshot. It appears to have been shot in his direction. And he sees a man charging full force right at him, and that's when the shot was dispersed, or I don't know if that's the right word, dispatched into his skull, and he then
Wow.
I told you, he was a quick trigger finger.
The gunshot saved his life then. He wouldn't have seen
ironically
what's his name coming,
and that was his own friend. So they looked at who the likely culprit was. It was this guy with a beanie and a beard who was hanging around the pedophile, and so it might have been his own friend that got him that cost him the element of surprise, so to speak. And further, you can tell just at how many of these people were armed when they're trying to treat this pedophile who's been shot. One of them even shouts to one of the other protesters, "You shot him?" He goes, "No, I didn't shoot him." And you can tell that these people are all armed. And he thought, "Oh wait, did you shoot this guy?" "No, I didn't shoot him." They don't know who's shooting who. It just shows how many of them are armed. These people. It's wow.
Oh, Jesus. I didn't know about that. Actually, there was one piece of information that I heard. I know this is being peddled by the mainstream media, so it's probably not true, but I'm kind of curious about what you know about it and what your take is on it. There's this article or this claim going around online that before everything went down, he was filmed like punching some woman.
Oh, that's a different topic. So this is the smear campaign of the left, and they tried to say, well, he was what it was, and we can go into all the different details, but it's not even worth going into. I think most of us, or just about any kid who went to a public high school, this was a schoolyard brawl. Some kids, two groups of kids got into a bit of a fight, and maybe I could go into the details at a different time, but it's not even worth that because it's just kids fight, getting into a little bit of a scuffle. What? Nobody was.
I heard that it was at the protest.
Oh, this was not. This was a long time before. This was a different incident.
Well, I know it's mainstream media fake news garbage, but I don't know exactly where the exaggerations come into play.
I don't know if the main press covered it themselves, but this is what a lot of the Antifa types were trying to peddle around on the internet. They were trying to call him a woman beater because he took a few body blows on a woman who could scarcely be. I thought it was a guy when I first saw the video. I'll put it that way.
What's the chick's name from The Last of Us 2?
She's not Tammy. She just dresses like a guy. Kind of like a stoner-looking lady. It's hard to explain, but she actually is...
Oh, they're pretty tough, man.
Yeah, I'm sure. She started the fight with a girl that was half her size, which looked to be Kyle's friend, but that's about all that's worth saying about it. It's just nonsensical smears, and they're trying to turn the woman beater around. Well, Kyle is actually a woman beater, yes, because it's the same as having a series of domestic violence, including asphyxiation, strangulation, use of a dangerous or deadly weapon, and so forth. It's
completely irrelevant.
Yeah, and it's gross that they're even trying to do this. They're trying to liken him to somebody like the skateboard individual. I can't remember his name anymore at the moment. It's not even worth remembering. He was a...
Yeah, I just remember Rosenbaum.
Yeah, Rosenbaum's an easy name to remember. The other man again...
Gage something.
Yeah, something Gage. Yeah. He's not even worth remembering, though. He's just some scumbag. And with these types as well, what's also been found out is through arrests, these agitators, these rioters, they found that they were coming from at least 44 different cities. So they're all talking, oh, Kyle is from out of city. We found out as well that no, Kyle actually works in Kenosha, and he was working there during the day before the protest. The rifle wasn't his. It was given to him after, I think it was a friend or somebody he knew in the community was calling for help to protect his business and to protect the community in general. And so he actually can be considered as from there. But these rioters, these agitators, they're not from there. But you don't see these disingenuous people complaining about that. They don't seem to...
Yeah.
Oh, Kyle's looking for trouble. But all these people are driving into the city.
175 arrests.
Yeah, and that's...
According
and we
to
know how few
the
the police
information
were
you sent me.
actually arresting, too. And that's just of those they arrested.
Oh, yeah, there were far more than 175 that deserved to be arrested, probably from...
Including the
At
guy
least
who
double
pulled a
the
gun
44
on
different
the
cities.
kid who is not legally allowed to have a gun and still has not been arrested, by the ways.
He hasn't been arrested? I thought they arrested him and let him go.
No, as far as I'm aware, no
Wow.
charges. Well, no charges have been pressed on him in any case, even though he attempted.
Well,
he's bragged.
He got his...
Sorry?
He's missing an arm now, so...
Well, he bragged on social
He-
media or lamented not being able to execute Kyle, so he's openly admitted that he wishes he could have murdered Kyle.
Well, it took him a long time to type that, and then he...
No, I'm sure. He's probably
He's
using one of those
missing an
audio
arm.
keyboards, just speak into the mic and it
Yeah,
types. for-
I guess so. Well, he doesn't have much of a choice. So even if he doesn't get arrested, I mean, Kyle left something for you there.
Yeah, good. It's the least that he deserves, a guy like him.
Yeah, I still do. Of course, I believe that he should be arrested and tried before a jury of his
Oh,
peers.
absolutely.
But is there any more information about Kyle that needs to be updated?
Other than that, his lawyer got banned off Twitter. I don't know if it's temporary,
Oh, right,
and this was
yeah.
just for apparently defending Kyle. Twitter's been very aggressive in going after people who defend
Oh,
Kyle.
I can imagine.
Again, it shows you just...
Well, he's a hero.
Yeah. By the
You
way,
gotta bury him.
up in the man who executed a Trump supporter in Portland, he had a Twitter account even up till this very day, as far as I'm aware. So again, it shows you where their sympathies lie. And the last one is we got a message from Kyle in prison, and that was
Oh, right. Yeah.
yeah. So he's hopeful. He seems to be in good spirits. He and his lawyer, he has excellent representation. They're confident they're going to beat this case. The lawyer made no asterisks. He made no, what's the word I'm looking for? There's a word for it, but I can't recall right now. I'm a little tired, I'm afraid. But he made no clarifications or anything, so to speak. And he was very confident, and in the lawyer's own words, this is one of the most clear-cut cases of self-defense. If he loses this case, Americans are just quite simply no longer legally allowed to defend themselves in this country, and he will defend that very sacred right.
Well, I mean, the way things are going, it's almost we're almost at that
Well, it's
point. You're not
anarcho-tyranny.
allowed to defend yourself. Yeah, I mean, this Michael Ryan or whatever his name, Ryan.
I just call
he's
him-
dead, by the way.
I just call him
But
Mike the
that's-
Fig.
Yeah, well, which is
I don't like...
we're not allowed to say the other
Oh,
word.
no, it's because I do not like Fig Newtons.
Oh, I'm sure that's exactly
Yes.
why you call him the Fig. But he's dead anyway. The cops shot him because he had a semi-automatic rifle when they went to arrest him.
Yeah, this is what's being alleged, and what I suspect is, well, as I mentioned, a lot of these people, they're losers, and I think he just wanted to go out. It was sort of a suicide by cops, I suspect. Or maybe he just hated cops that much. Maybe he thought he'd increase his tally. That's another one, maybe. But
Well, he's got the Black Lives Matter tattoo on his neck.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, he had it. He's dead now.
that was the thing, too, and what many of us are wondering, including Trump himself, and he tweeted this out, why has this man not been arrested yet? And it's 4chan, actually, that gathered all the information on him. Thanks to them, everybody knew who he was. And Trump, like everyone else, is wondering, why is this murderer violent? I mean, you can see in the clip, too, where they're shouting, hey, we got a couple over here, we got a couple right here, and then you hear a gunshot pop off. It's,
Two
yeah,
to the
Yeah.
chest, right? I think that was what
I believe so.
situation was. And the interesting thing about this, the most interesting thing about the way the story is being shared is that Michael is being defended with the exact same story that actually applies to Kyle. You know, oh, he's just defending his community, man. Come on, he's a hero. He was just trying to stop tyranny and stop those right-wing terrorists. He's saving lives out there. That's the defense they use for Michael or Ryan,
which is
whatever,
of course
the fig.
just utter nonsense. And he also tried to allege as much in the interview he gave. And I think they're assuming that Kyle's case isn't justified, and they feel, oh well, anything's just self-defense. This is the strategy. We'll just say they'll lie. Oh, it's peaceful protest. Oh, it's self-defense. Oh, it's just it's good trouble. It's it's civil disobedience or whatever.
Oh, good trouble. Would you say it's fiery but peaceful?
Oh yes.
I know somebody would say that.
Very yes.
The media is your enemy. As
In the words of Cuomo.
well, the media is not your friend. The words of Cuomo himself, Chris Cuomo, who Me Too'd himself, the idiot. He was talking with Michael Cohen, Trump's former lawyer, and he came out and he basically Me Too'd himself and called himself out as the enemy of the people. The media is not your friend.
Well, as I say with these people all the time, my Cuomo is putting on a fake face. These people put on a fake persona.
Oh,
They know
they're
the game.
all
They
fake.
play the game. They manipulate you. They think the people who watch them are stupid. They think they're manipulable, and they're just using them. And that's why I say it is always projection with these people. Every time they're talking about how horrible the people they don't like are, how they all are horrible, closeted racists, or they're all, how shall we say, trying to abuse women behind closed doors. It's because it is always, or almost always, the case that they are doing the same, or they know people who do the same. And in the case of Chris Cuomo, then he's admitted himself that, well, no, I don't like the press. The press is the enemy of the people. Never trust the press. He's saying don't trust women. He's saying women. He's saying I think a rapper once said them beeps be crazy, something of that sort. That's what he's saying. And he's, as you say, Me Tooing himself as a very sleazy guy. And he asks the Cohen fellow, "Do I look like that kind of guy?" Yeah, sure. Why not?
Yeah, sure. Why not? Yeah. Well, you know what? The thing could have been a complete setup. You know, it could have been a setup. I mean, I know somebody else.
I know someone else who's
up.
been set up by Tactical Salon Ops.
Yeah, Tactical Salon Ops down in San Francisco, where Nancy Pelosi got her hair blow dried or something without a mask. Oh no, they caught her. She was set up, and she's owed an apology. And I think we can both agree that she deserves that apology. How dare the salon workers conspire in such a way to humiliate our dear, our beloved Nancy Pelosi? How dare they? How dare they?
Oh, I guess everybody's just getting set up. We saw this with Fauci, who as soon as he gave an interview, thought the cameras were off, took off his mask. We saw this with, I think it was a CNN interviewer asking a guy in the street why he's not wearing a mask, and the guy points, your cameraman's not wearing a mask. And we've seen this many times.
I love that one. That was great.
Yeah, and it's with all these people. They take off their masks. They don't follow the rules. You had one governor during the lockdown. She was flying to Florida for vacation and by his wife.
Yeah.
And somebody brought up and says, we don't drag families into politics. How indecent or something. It just wouldn't answer the question.
Yeah, Lori Lightfoot.
That's him.
She went out, got her hair done. Well, I'm in the public eye, so you know I'm not. I get my hair
Yeah,
done.
that was the Michigan.
She condemns
wasn't it?
the riots when they get to her house. I think so. Yeah. Well, I know Lori Lightfoot is Chicago.
Oh, jeez, I'm losing track of which one is which. They're all
Yeah,
on
Lori
fire.
Lightfoot, Chicago. The family one, was that?
No,
Yeah,
that was somewhere inland in the heartland. I can't remember which state though.
Okay. Yeah, you lose track of all of them. You know,
This is too
you know,
much.
all of this stuff. It's not fair. We're picking on these politicians. It might light a fire under one of their asses. Kind of like the mayor of Portland, whose condo was torched the other night, and the riots finally got to his house, the thing that they all feared the most, and yeah, he had to move. He had to move out of his flaming condominium. Oh, it's so sad. And he made sure to apologize to the people of Portland that his condominium was damaged in the peaceful protests. Oh, what a shame! What a shame!
Yeah, he lived by the motto, "Gotta go fast." 'Cause he got the heck
Yeah,
out of
well,
there.
he went fast. He went very
Yeah,
fast.
Wheeler's just a
Uh,
contemptible person and a failure for as a competent politician. He's a disgrace and a failure.
yeah, well, the three people we've mentioned so far, they all have that common theme. They're all contemptible, disgraceful, dishonest.
No, oh, absolutely. And his own constituents can't even stand him. He tries to go to the riots to show, hey, I'm just like you guys. Yeah, the mayor. Yeah, down with the power. Yeah, stand
Yeah.
against.
Hello, fellow kids.
Yeah, hello, fellow anti-government agitators. They're booing him. He had his bodyguards try to protect him. He got the heck out of there. He really just he was hiding in some building afterwards.
Well, they were screaming for him to resign, which would be a good idea.
He really should.
Of course, they want him to resign for different reasons
Yeah.
than we want him to resign. But you know, it's almost enough to make you shed a tear. Kind of like the Antifa general or leader. They believe this was also in Portland. Commander Red, the 23-year-old flamethrower wielding Antifa member who immediately broke down into the fetal position and started crying when the police came to take him away. And I would like to, for you, Beat, I would like to stress the fact that he was 23 years old,
And not doing
which
the
would make him a
generation
Zoomer.
the best, I know.
He's
Well, the cities
Zoomer
have a way,
Antifa
no matter the
member.
generation, of just destroying people.
I know, but I know you have a special affinity for Zoomers, and you go to bat for them whenever you can. So, is there any way that you can go to bat for him
I
to
would
maybe
just point out
rationalize
Kyle
this
was
away?
also a Zoomer, so we
Okay.
got Kyle.
All right.
We don't have any millennial equivalent of a Kyle, so no one based like that. That's worth pointing
Okay,
out.
well,
But
no,
these people,
it's
though,
good to see you shilling for the Zoomers. Very nice to see that.
they're my generation. But well, with all these people, they're, as I point out with Antifa, they're kids, they're cowards. By themselves, they are not much of a threat. They're not much to, and they're not very intimidating. They're probably not very aggressive either. But you get 10 of them in a group, and they're the most aggressive little buggers you can imagine. They'll gang up on you and try to swarm you if there's 10 of them and one of you, and that's how they act.
Yeah, it's interesting. I'm something of a horror movie fan, and that's basically the golden rule for every single zombie movie in existence. By themselves, a single zombie doesn't pose any threat to the main characters, but it's always when they turn into a horde, when they turn into these, destructive forces.
Oh, it's the
So
same
I think
with
that's an
them.
interesting comparison. They're all a bunch of mindless zombies.
Well, they do kind of act like it. Just look at what they're calling for. Let's have our utopian, stateless society. We're going to burn it all down and erect in its place a glorious anarchist utopia, even though one of their main thought leaders has admitted that it's a failed and doomed endeavor, being Kropotkin.
Well, the other thing is recently we gave them their chance. They had Chaz, and okay, this is your chance to shine,
Weren't
kids. Let's see
there
what you got.
Countless
And-
undocumented rape cases in Chaz admitted by
Well-
people in Chaz, and not to mention kids
Well,
getting
we
murdered.
don't talk about that. They look bad enough without those rape cases, so we don't talk about that.
It reminds me though. You
But yes,
mentioned the
there were.
one Antifa. There's another one. His grandma turned him in because his grandma's a Trump supporter, so base granny, and they called him the Simp Grenadier. I think it was something like that. I can't remember
my
his name.
God.
This is his picture.
Yeah,
He was
Commander
the
Red,
Portland
Simp
bomber.
Grenadier.
He was the Portland bomber, yes, Simp Grenadier. And there's this picture of him standing in front of a nude female protester. It's probably his age around. And so he came out and violated the terms of his release and got, of course, I'm pretty sure arrested again. So he's probably going to actually have to spend time. People were joking. He just wanted that second date.
Oh man, these people are dangerous. That's true, but I don't recall such a dangerous group of people who pose serious threats to the community and the people who live within those communities. And I don't remember such a group being so damn hilarious
Well, that's the
at the
thing.
same
They're
time.
dangerous, but they could be so much more dangerous if they weren't retarded. They're just a bunch of
That's
imbeciles
right.
and
Yeah.
incompetent failures trying to be as dangerous as they can be, and thankfully, because they're imbeciles, because they're failures, because they're incompetent and not resourceful, they aren't that dangerous. There's somebody I like who was watching and says, you know, it's a really great thing they have no idea how to put together a trebuchet because if they arranged one of those, that could actually be really dangerous. But these people are idiots. So
Yeah.
they're never going to do something.
Well, you mentioned something earlier about how somebody threw a bottle that was in a bag
Yeah.
at Kyle. That seems retarded to me. Why would you do that? Because it would kind of mitigate the damage that broken glass would cause if you have it, in a bag or something.
No, maybe it
And
was just something he was using to hold the bottle. I don't know why he had
hmm,
it. I couldn't tell you.
yeah, I don't know. That seems strange. But I mean, if going back to how dangerous they could be, I mean, just think if they were all a bunch of 2A advocates and they all knew their way around a
They're
firearm.
certainly trying to get firearms now, which, as we saw,
Well, yeah,
in the
but they're all retarded. They spent their entire life being anti-gun, and now they just flip the switch and like, oh, give us a bunch of assault rifles. They don't know what the hell they're doing with them.
They've grown up with this belief that it's this you push the button and it kills people. That's all. And you see with a lot of these people that it's obviously not. Yeah, I love the not fudging around coalition. You see this
Oh, yeah.
fat guy in the picture walking around, and everyone pointed out this idiot is walking around with an active jam in his rifle. So he pointed it. It's not gonna shoot. He's got a jam. And then, of course, the only people who got shot were some of their own because you had accidental discharges and they shot each other. And you look here, as well as in Wisconsin, this 17-year-old was a quicker draw and a cracked shot compared to a bunch of these rioters lanking around clumsily with a pistol.
Yeah. Yeah, they don't know what they're doing, and they waited too long to start getting into guns. Because I know people like to say, oh, the Civil War's coming. It's got to be a really short Civil War, because all of their guys don't know what the hell they're doing. And our guys are all trained and ready to use
The
weapons
only
if they have to defend
advantage
themselves.
they have, ironically, is that they have the combined, they're supposed to be the resistance, what have you, but they seem to have the combined support of international billionaires, massive institutions and corporations, and even their local governments.
Yeah, that's true. And they still suck at their little revolution. They still can't do anything right.
Now, speaking
Right for them.
speaking of that, it seems that after 3 months of endless rioting, they finally pushed Biden hard enough that he had to condemn them.
Right. Joe Biden, we're going to talk a lot about him tonight. And we're going to start with the fact that he actually was it a coherent sentence or was it semi-coherent?
If he has
if
if he has a speech, he only stumbles a little bit. Whereas if he speaks ad
Okay.
hoc, then that's when he doesn't even know what state he's in.
Any word on those debates?
Nancy, they keep talking about the right wants to divide, but I hear the right wanting to talk. Nancy's saying, "Don't even dignify them with a debate." They're trying to hide Biden. It's not. She's
Yeah,
hiding with Biden, if I were to use a pun.
hiding with Biden. There you go. Hiding with Biden. I like it. What are the chances of there actually being?
I
any
think there's a
debates?
good
What
chance.
do you
I think it's a
Oh,
terrible
really?
look that he's not going to debate. I think maybe they'll try to reduce it to just one. That might be their best case scenario. But if they don't do any, I think it speaks terribly of Biden. And you are seeing now that this hiding strategy he's going with is starting to backfire because for so long people can, how do I say, tune that out that he's hiding, but it clicks with people.
Yeah.
And of course, why would you be hiding? It doesn't look good. It speaks of incompetence. It speaks that of course he's hiding because of he just does not have the capacity to even perform these basic functions anymore. And why would you even want that as the
That's
president?
right. Yeah. I mean, say what you will about any flawed government election system. You're electing your representatives, and well, Joe Biden, he's MIA right now. He's not representing anything.
Well, he's finally come out of hiding and he's condemned them.
Yes.
It took 3 months.
And what did he ask Trump to do?
To condemn them as well, which is again nonsensical. Trump has been trying to send the National Guard or trying to get the consent of these governors and mayors and so forth to send the National Guard, and they keep actively fighting
Right.
him. So
Key point too. He's not forcing anything. I mean, everybody likes to call him the fascist, the dictator, the totalitarian. He's not forcing anything. He said, "Listen, offers here. If you don't take it, that's on you." Some places aren't
he's
taking
playing
it.
the situation
on
well.
them.
I think if he sent them right in, that's what they want. I think that's what Ted Wheeler praised for the first time in his life, in his atheist life, that Trump will just send in the Guard, and so he can call him fascist. But
Yeah.
in the case of
Yeah, that's what they're banking on.
oh, absolutely. And they waited too long. They kept thinking it was going to happen. And they, for months, kept trying to play this. It's just peaceful protesters, guys. Look, it's just peaceful. It's fiery but peaceful. Oh, it's just...
Yeah, summer of love. It's just a big black party, guys.
Yeah, summer of love. Oh, we're just dealing with hurt. People are hurting, so people are lashing out a little bit. Or it's just property,
oh,
but
guys.
now people are getting killed. You're seeing
just
violence
property.
escalate.
Yeah.
You're seeing cities burned up. People are tired of it. The polls are dropping for Biden across the board. Sorry.
That's right. Yeah, people are abandoning the Democrats in a huge way, and that's awesome.
And BLM as well. The support for them has dropped quite a lot, actually. But
Yeah.
what you are seeing now is finally they're changing hat. They're changing strategy. All right. There's the protests. Maybe they're not so peaceful, but it's Trump's fault.
Yeah, a little fiery. Yes, this is Trump's America. That's the line I've been hearing all week. This is Donald Trump's America. This is his problem. This is his fault.
Yeah, and I'm seeing. So I have one tweet here. This summarizes the sentiment. And this is the quote: "The radical right president, where this crazy violence is taking place, has lost control of his country. It wasn't supposed to be like this, but the anarchists and agitators kept getting instigated by the president. It's his fault. He's instigating it."
Oh, yes. Thank you, Mrs. Krasenstein. We do appreciate your insightful tweets.
Yeah, and Biden's echoed something of similar of that sort, that he's the divider, he's instigating this situation. That's what they're trying to go with now. Well,
That's the same thing they've been saying for 4 years. He's the divider in chief.
but now they're trying to cite that as the cause for the riots. Oh, it's completely Trump's fault. If Trump was just not so incendiary, none of these riots would happen. But it's funny. They only seem to be happening in Democrat areas, and the only reason they're going on is because the Democrats facilitate and allow this. Makes you think.
It's almost like they're related.
Yeah, there's a
somehow. It's
conspiracy,
weird.
and not in the how do I say the crazy or loony way, but you can see an open, naked conspiracy by the left to keep these riots or to support these riots in indirect ways or indirect ways even, where you see where
Speaking of conspiracy, this is a little bit off topic, but maybe we should mention a little bit. It seems like there's a little bit of there's a little bit of momentum towards the Obamagate investigation. It seems like people are starting to kind of fall in regards to that, which is, I think, it's not completely unrelated. It's a part of.
Well, I think
Orange
I
Man.
think almost everybody has at least one conspiracy that they subscribe to, and there's nothing wrong with that either. Even in terms of history, you can look at events 100 years ago and try to make some assumptions. Maybe he did know this, had some foreknowledge, or what have you. Maybe, and one of my favorite ones is that the driver for, what was his name now? Franz Ferdinand, sorry. He knew that because he kept driving around, and he knew that there was a chance that the assassination attempt, because he knew they were still running around, that he would get assassinated. Things like that. Of course, there's no evidence for that, but it's one of those things that just strange things, or just fun pet little stories, and so. But they don't want you thinking anymore. And in the British educate.
Well, these ones are these are out in the open. Everybody knows, like, the Steele dossier was a bunch of garbage.
Oh, that's true.
And you have,
but,
like you just mentioned, the Democratic establishment openly supporting the riots and then blaming it on
That's
Trump.
very true. I was thinking more so in terms of the Obamagate stuff, where, and this would be my little pet theory, and I think why they're so obsessed, why they're so desperate to win this election is, I think, they're deathly afraid Trump is making progress on that, that he is going to start pursuing them on the whole Obamagate stuff, that they wiretapped Trump during the elections, as well as meddling and manipulations with regard to the Steele dossier and other things like that. I'm sure there's more that we don't know about. I think they're deathly afraid that a lot more will come out, and they want to get him out because of that. That's my little conspiracy theory, I suppose.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that makes a lot of sense to me, and I think one of the lawyers involved, he went down, and there's going to be some indictments handed out to some pretty big names soon. So, I don't know when it stops being a conspiracy theory and starts being
Well,
the
a
truth.
conspiracy
I don't know where the
theory,
dividing
I
line is.
consider this just an offhand term, because in its, how shall we say, its most direct meaning, it can it may or may not have a basis in fact or reality. In fact, you can look at open conspiracies. You can look at the Gulf of Tonkin incident. That's a conspiracy theory, or was a conspiracy theory, but it's now accepted fact that, or even with the incident that led to the Spanish-American War, with the sinking of an American vessel, what it was. These are conspiracy, or once conspiracy theories rather, and now we know them as open fact. And they were always known, and they still are conspiracies, in fact, as well. That hasn't changed. A conspiracy just means to meet somewhat covertly and conspire to bring about certain ends. That's all it means.
Well, that's what it traditionally means. The media gets a lot of mileage out of the term conspiracy theory. As some,
Yeah, but they also get mileage
right-winger.
out of other ludicrous terms of long
Well,
guns,
the thing is,
assault-style weapon. What the?
So yeah, the thing is that for a lot of people, the mainstream media does shape their interpretation or their usage of the language. So the second it's like the word racist. You hit somebody with that word. Well, the conversation's over. You're just Hitler. You hit somebody with you hit a story with the words conspiracy theory. Oh, it's not true. Okay, got it.
Yeah,
it's a lie. It's a euphemism for lie.
Euphemism for loony. That's what is it? They're putting chemicals in the water to turn your kids gay. Things like that.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, they're doing something to turn our kids gay. That's probably for another time. All right, let's go ahead and continue with the Biden thread. We said we were going to talk about his
one
policies.
last thing before we do that is that they have found a new frontier for campaigning.
Oh, we're talking about Animal Crossing, right?
Yep.
Yeah, they have posters for the Biden-Harris campaign. I don't know how they got that into the game.
I don't know how the game works. You can probably just create. I think they probably have a template, and you can just upload things to the market. That's what I'm guessing.
Oh yeah. Oh, that's true. I played the game a little bit. I think that they do have that.
I've never played it.
Animal Crossing is, I mean, it's a nice little game, but it does attract a certain breed of insane people. It is the quintessential safe space. You're on your own island where all of the villagers or whatever, they're all nice to you. They don't disagree with you. There's no triggering right-wing conspiracy theorists, Nazi racists to bother you. You can only play with people that you accept into your island, accept into your community, and you can see a lot of posts on various websites where like there's Animal Crossing helped people realize that they were
I remember that. Yeah, and he came
something
out
like that.
He uploaded the video of him coming out through Animal Crossing. Oh, jeez.
Yeah. So at its core, it's just an innocent little game that you're supposed to drop 15 minutes in, and that was a nice little break. It's bright colors and it's a good feeling, but in practice, there's a lot of really crazy people playing that game.
My comment is, I wish people would work as hard studying and applying themselves to a career as they do collecting their dumb shells in Animal Crossing.
Well, the thing is that's hard. The career thing is hard. The shells, that's easy.
You have to spend, 12 hours doing monotonous labor trying to work the game?
And, well, also, these games are designed to there's a gameplay loop that keeps you coming back for more. There's no
Mundane
gameplay
chores?
loop. There's no gameplay loop for trying to get a career.
It's one of those things I
it's-
just don't understand.
really difficult, and it's oftentimes miserable. So
I don't get it. It's one of those things that's just beyond me. When I play a video game, I want action or something exciting. I don't want to be doing mundane chores and, taking care of other people. I can do that in the physical.
Well, I think there's a fantasy that people have where they live on their own island or they own a beach house somewhere.
Don't they work and buy
just
one?
Live the quiet life. Well, okay. What? So, listen, I'm not completely trying to defend these people. I'm just saying that that's kind of a fantasy people have, and this is a shortcut to that fantasy.
Well, they could
because you
make
kinda
that
get to do that.
fantasy a reality.
Well, the chances of most people ever making enough money to buy a beachfront
Well, it depends.
property is pretty
It's
low.
actually, you just have to be wise about it. So this is a thing in Germany, for example. A lot of Germans will buy beachfront property in Bulgaria because it's really quite cheap. Unlike in Germany, if you were to find beachfront property there. It's the same with the U.S. or in Japan or in a lot of countries. There's plenty of beachfront property that's quite inexpensive, all things considered. It's just not the prime areas that are quite popular. It's not the German beaches, or it's not.
Well, Animal Crossing is the prime area. You get your own little island where you can invite all of the movie stars over, and you guys
Who would
can
want to fraternize with
drink
Hollywood
children's
types?
blood.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, Sandra Bullock
Oh, that's-
apparently openly admitted
oh
that
no.
what was it?
Oh.
She has this extract from foreskins that she rubs on her face.
Yeah, she rubs baby dicks on
yeah,
her face.
yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
Wonderful people, but so yeah, that's.
Well, you say you don't like Sandra Bullock? What are you, some kind of
I
racist?
don't like Hollywood in general. I think it's.
I know, I'm just messing
very
with you.
few
I know you
exceptions.
don't. We've had this conversation. What's an exception? A modern exception. Don't bring up some actress from
I was
the
gonna say I like Clint Eastwood.
10s or something. Okay, well, you like him because he's a Republican.
Well, he's also made a lot of great films, and he just I don't know what it is about.
He
him.
has made a lot of great films,
Yeah.
but there are a lot of other actors who have made a lot of great films, but you don't like them.
That's true, but there's something about him. He just strikes me as an all right fellow. Andrew Clavin was also
Yeah, I
technically
can agree
involved
with that.
Hollywood. Yeah, I do like Andrew.
Okay, fine. All right, fair enough. Okay, yeah. So, anyway, Animal Crossing. If you want your Biden Harris merch, you go play some Animal Crossing. You can go hide in the basement with.
Clavin. And
Biden.
you can Pokemon go to the polls.
Hillary's still bitter. All these years later, she just can't let it go.
Well, that
Jesus,
it
go away.
was
She needs to go hide in the
her
basement.
turn.
Yeah, and she screwed it up. She just skipped all of the flyover states. She's like, "Oh, I got this in the bag." She didn't even care. She didn't even consider offering any sort of effort.
Well,
She just
compared
assumed
to
that she had it
Biden,
lock
she
stock.
put in a world more. Have you seen Biden's rallies with the fact that he hid
Wow.
in the basement for half of the people when he's
That's-
supposed to be campaigning?
That's not really his fault. I don't think he's in a mental state to make any sort of decisions whatsoever.
Well, look at when he was younger. His whole campaign blew up because he plagiarized a bunch of speeches and got disgraced.
Okay. Well, when he was younger, yeah.
It's,
I mean,
Obama's
he dug his own
even
grave.
younger. This was in the 90s, so it was about 30 years ago. He said, well, my memory failed me or something. That was his excuse. But I'd say there's truth to what Obama said behind closed doors, what he's alleged to have said. That never underestimate Biden's ability to fudge things up.
Real friend there. Man, I hope Obama gets what's coming to him. He's done some things that he needs to be punished for, and I hope that he gets the call. You know, he gets that call to the great prison in the sky.
Yeah, it would certainly be befitting, I think. And he's certainly, I would consider him
Yeah.
quite an odious figure, but that's a story for a different time. But shall we?
Oh, yes. Okay, yeah, by his policies. We said we were going to talk about it last week. We didn't have time to do it last week. Let's do it right now, okay? So you've gone way more in depth.
I
with
punished
his
myself quite
policies.
extensively
You
to
punished
actually
yourself.
read.
Yes. So why don't you give us some of the main takeaways that you want to highlight?
So his immigration platform, it's quite extensive, but it can be summarized as open borders. He wants record numbers of refugees. I think he's talking about, what is it, 180,000 a year, which is a 300%, if not more, increase from what we have now under Trump. He wants to give amnesty to everyone already in the country, so we're talking about anywhere from 20 to 33 million people in virtually a day if he can do it. He wants to ease the process of anybody coming in. He just wants open borders. That's his immigration policy.
Yeah, and they'll never lose another election.
Oh
if
yeah,
that happens.
and that's Nick Fuentes covered in quite good detail. So I summarized it. But his economic policy, or as he summarizes it as racial economic equity. We can go into that a little bit. And so
Ooh.
first one
All
is
right.
for his healthcare policies. The first thing he does is cite that there are racial disparities in healthcare. He doesn't care about people of lower income. He only cares about looking things through the lens of race, which is dumb. I'll just leave it at that.
And boring. We've done that. We've been doing that forever. Just we're sick of it. We don't want to do this anymore.
So in this case, well, there's a time and place for everything, but this is not one of them. This is one of those things obvious.
Well, the time and place for racial justice, that we've been doing this for the past 4 years, 5 years, 10 years.
Well, I don't
It's-
like the
it's
term racial
tired.
justice. I just mean in terms of looking at things through race, but that's a topic for another day. In this
Okay.
case, though, he says, and I quote, "Black and brown Americans have suffered and died from the coronavirus at rates far higher than white Americans."
Oof.
Which, you look at all these riots going on. You look at as well that a lot of comorbidity as well. How many the obesity rate amongst Black Americans.
Right.
One of the main
Diabetes.
diabetes epidemic.
Heart disease.
Yeah, there's all of that, and then you look at just the culture of rejecting masks to the point. I think it was Portland, one of those places on the West Coast, outright said, "Look, we're just not going to require that Black people wear masks." So there's obviously a lot that are not just outright refusing to. And so again, it's one of those things about just how shall I say, the onus of one's own actions, or that's not even an onus, just the natural responsibility that comes about what you decide consciously as a adult what to do with yourself.
Right. And with the rioters specifically, a lot of them are on drugs half the
Oh,
time,
jeez.
and drugs that those are gonna hammer your immune system. They're gonna make you weaker
Oh,
to things like
absolutely.
this.
But
So
So
yeah.
next we have his described reckoning on racial justice.
Okay, there we go.
The
This is more what I thought you were talking about just a minute ago.
Oh, that's
I thought
part.
this is what we were talking about.
Specifically, he talks about the tragic cost of systemic racism in the murder of
Oh,
George
Lord.
Floyd
Oh,
and
no.
so many other Black men, women, and
Oh,
children.
no.
He also talks about how climate change disproportionately affects Black people, apparently. As
Oh god, not climate change. Oh, we gotta.
that everything
stop
is
it.
racist. Everything just wants to terminate Black people, I guess, and that includes the weather. But so that's just some of his rhetoric, though. Let's get to his policy prescriptions, and the first, of course, is to ensure investments into ownership and access to affordable housing for Black, brown, and Native families.
Huh.
So a lot of this includes, how shall we say, just outright lowering the bar for getting loans for everybody, which of course that's very dangerous for obvious reasons. But
Well, they did that. That's what started the 2008 financial crisis. They had those ninja loans, no income, no job, no asset loans. And those were mostly given to Black
Yes.
people, and the economy fell apart.
it's a long story behind that, but that was definitely a part of it. They were creating these financial instruments by bundling these shall we say, subprime mortgages, I think they were called, and selling them to others as part of a long-term investments where they'd see it's complicated, but it's a different story.
Oh yeah, it's very complicated.
And so the next one, he wants to create what are called opportunity zones. Well, he wants to create them in his image, or not his image, his desired image. And this means, and this, I'll just take the quote, so you don't assume or so it doesn't look as though I'm mischaracterizing him. He says, in too many instances, investors favor high return projects like luxury apartments over affordable housing and local entrepreneurs.
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, well, of course they do. Why,
Yes, it's
why would they put their money in
and
projects?
yeah, that's true.
The ghettos. That's
He
retarded.
wants them to. He wants to force them. So the opportunity zones are just tax
That's-
incentives for these. Oh yeah, they obviously want to seek profit. That's the natural incentive for these things. They don't want to. Yeah, as you say.
Yeah, and
And that's part of what he wants to do
that's
as
been
well.
stigmatized too.
Well,
Seeking profit, you're not allowed to seek profit anymore.
uh,
That's a bad thing. You're a terrible colonizer, imperialist, or something if you want to make a little bit of scratch for yourself.
yeah,
So-
it's unfortunate, but
You
so
just come out and say it. We don't like that you're making money, so we're gonna take it and give it to poor black people.
Yeah, so the next bit is incentivizing opportunity funds, he calls them, to partner with non-profit or community-oriented organizations and jointly produce community benefit plans with each investment. And I this is obviously just going to be embezzled. This is the story, and I mentioned this too, that comes to mind is with it was in Florida, I believe, and there was these BLM a gang of them going around putting a poster or intimidating local businesses, and one of them was a Cuban man, and they told him, look, they gave him a list of demands. You need to effectively either pay tribute to us directly or donate to our local nonprofits. You need to give, was it 5% of their total revenue into local black nonprofits, and they also need to publicly support the reparations movement. So when I think of local community organizations, I'm thinking that's what they were asking these businesses to pour their money
Yeah.
into. It's filling their own coffers. They call it a nonprofit, but that's what it seems. Not all, of course, but a lot of the cases, this will, I am certain, will happen.
Well, where does all of that BLM money go? It goes to the Democratic Party.
Yeah, Share Blue.
They're just sticking their hands in the money pot or
That's
the
what
coffee
all these
jar,
things.
cookie
all
jar.
these people are
and-
hucksters. Jesse Jackson, Talcum X. They're all grifting off this to make money, and they keep falling. For
Yeah,
it.
actually, can we talk about Talcum X for a quick aside? Just a
Yeah,
really
sure.
quick aside. There was a Hollywood actor, Chadwick Boseman,
Ah.
the actor for the Black Panther. He died recently
I've
from
heard.
cancer, and Talcum X sent out an email to all of his subscribers saying that you should honor his memory by buying his book.
Well, yeah, that's what it is. It's the same thing with Gamergate. It's the same mindset. Hey, help me buy this chairlift. Hashtag Gamergate. Here, help me get my dental my dental plan. Hashtag Gamergate. Same thing. Oh, hey, buy my book. Hashtag BLM. It's the same thing.
Yeah. Let's remember Chadwick Boseman. My book's on sale, guys. And my favorite part was he said, "Oh, I already got paid for it, so it's definitely not a shill or anything. I'm definitely not,
I'll
just
bet.
trying to capitalize on his death. I already got paid, so I'm not making any money." I mean, everybody knows that you get a little bit of a kickback every time they sell your book, but whatever. And book sales, book numbers, if he were to capitalize on that, on Chadwick Boseman's death, that would set him up for a new book deal, a nice new book deal. So no, it's definitely not for profit or anything.
Oh, I'll bet. Yeah, I'll trust him for sure. I don't, but
No, I
yeah.
definitely trust them. We trust them.
and-
Anyway, I'm sorry. Please
no,
continue.
No, that was a good aside. And one thing I didn't have listed here, but that is littered all over his policy, is he just wants to force black people in every level of the government for no other reason than they're black. He just wants to just shake
Well, I
everything
mean,
up.
it's current.
Oh
year.
yeah. So we just need to
So-
force black people into everything, every government institution, every government body,
Yeah.
every piece of oversight. Everything just needs to be, and it's going to be his own cronies. They're going to be Democrat cronies, and it's just going to make the system even more corrupt than it already is. Obviously,
Well, conservative blacks, they're Uncle Tom. They don't know their own good. They don't know how to act
you-
on their own
Yeah, but
behalf.
you-
So we can't include them.
jeez, it would be when they say that, it's no different than just saying race traitor, which is what, of course, they decry white people for saying in the 1960s and so forth. You're a race traitor, but they do that still, but you're not allowed to point that out. But so next is
Well, I think people are starting to get tired of it.
oh,
But
for
go
sure.
on.
And this is, I think, where so this is related to Biden condemning the violence, and this is very much related to what I keep saying, that shows you where they really stand on these matters. And so he has this big pillar called "Support Second Chances for Economic Success." Now, what the heck does that mean? I even put question marks there because it's wait, what? That just sounds like rhetoric. What does that mean? Second chances for economic success. What is that for? Poor people, disadvantaged people? No, no, no. This is, and I quote, "Biden believes in redemption for people who are convicted of a crime."
Yeah, yeah. Well, I remember this one was.
It gets crazier and crazier.
A lot of people have tried to push. Oh, we gotta take care of our convicted felons. Well, actually, Bernie Sanders in 2016. This was actually one of his points because convicted felons, well, they tend to vote blue, so you kind of want them on your team.
Yeah. Well, that's one of the
So
things.
this
He
isn't
wants them to
new.
be able to vote the very second they walk out of prison. So that's one of them.
It's retarded.
He also bemoans restrictions in society for convicts. Specifically, he wants to make it quicker and easier to hide criminal records from public viewing, so that's great.
Yeah. See, now we tried a form of this in New York where they removed bail and.
Oh, we're getting to that.
Criminals.
We're getting to that. So,
Okay, go on.
he wants to ensure that 100% of convicts have housing after leaving prison. So he would direct the HUD, the HUD of Urban Development, I believe it's called. That's where Ben Carson's stationed. Would only contract with entities open to housing individuals for looking for a second chance. So obviously, the head of urban development, people selling houses or renting out and so forth, they don't want to let convicts living with them for obvious reasons. Why do you want your neighbor to be, oh yeah, he murdered someone, oh yeah, he's a child rapist, oh yeah, he's involved in racketeering, gang connections, oh great, let's let him in, we'll sell right. The HUD, the head of urban development, will not deal with you unless you let them in. You must let them in.
Yeah, and
those
then
are good.
Society crumbles that much faster. Yeah. That's ridiculous.
And that's
These
what
people went to jail.
Trump was saying, that they want to get rid of the suburbs. They want to McCloskey was saying that in his speech, which was a powerful speech. This is what they're talking about. And of course, not everybody will bite, but you'll have people who want those nice government contracts, and you'll inevitably see people open up. That's the whole point of incentives.
Yeah, definitely. And this actually reminds me of it's a little bit off topic, but it's somewhat related. Criminal reform in California, they recently, I think this bill officially passed too, they reduced the penalties for sex offenders who victimized children.
Oh, that's no surprise. It's coming from the place that decriminalized knowingly transmitting STDs without telling the other person.
Right. No, another point here is that they lowered the penalty if you abuse a minor only if it's a same-sex relationship, because until now it's been stigmatized.
I can't tell you why.
If it's man to woman, man to girl, it's the same. You still go to jail for however long it was. Like, I don't know, it's California, it's probably like 10 days or something. But now in if it's the same sex,
we see a very
lower
serious
penalty.
overrepresentation of the latter, and so I think that would be it's the same thing with the knowing transmission of STD as well. I wonder who is doing this, who would be engaging in that. And, well, it paints an ugly picture. But
it's almost like they know what they're doing.
Yeah. And same with California decriminalizing petty theft, so now people walk into stores and take things out because they're not going to even call it cops.
God.
Yeah, I couldn't tell you why people are fleeing California faster than they're coming in now. Just couldn't tell you.
Yeah, please don't bring California to other conservative states, you goddamn degenerates.
Oh, they don't. So you were talking.
You already ruined one
you were
state.
talking about zombies earlier. They don't notice it. They don't. Well, not all, of course, but a lot of them don't make that connection, and they'll just keep voting blue in the new state. It's like a basilisk spreading this blue pest.
We're gonna lose Texas, and then it's over, man.
Oh, jeez.
Jesus.
Well, I'm still hopeful in any case, but.
Everybody loves moving to Texas now.
Oh yeah, because it's ran by conservatives and not ran like California.
God. And then they're gonna vote in their stupid liberals.
Yeah, you know who they wanted to vote in instead of Ted Cruz? They wanted to vote in Beto. You know, we all saw how he turned out.
Hell yeah, we're gonna take your guns
Yeah,
away.
that guy. The guy.
Well, Californians, they want that though. We want to go to Texas, but can you like clean up these guns? Because we don't like this part about Texas. Well, can
Jeez.
you like make it a little
Which
bit more open to gay people?
Yeah, that's a
We don't
topic
like
I'm going to
that
go
part.
into another day. There's horrifying and
Fair enough.
gross hypocrisy about cultural imperialism. They talk about white people were evil in last century because they forced their culture on other lands, but they do the same. They go to other places. Say, hey, can you, as you say, can you clean up the guns? Can you be more progressive? Can you like our colonies?
Yeah.
And they agitate. They try to get. It's sorry for another time, but because I know a lot of people who do it, and it's unfortunate.
Oh yeah, I know. Yeah, I definitely know.
But so next on the platform here is removing restrictions for felons to access SNAP, so food stamps, etc., Pell Grants,
yeah.
and housing support. So all that tax money, well, we want to funnel that to felons as well.
But Jesus, it's like you should commit crimes, because you get out of jail if they even put you in jail, and you get all this free stuff.
Yeah.
It's like a care package
really
coming out of
is.
jail.
That's what it
It makes being a felon sound pretty sweet.
That's what it is. It really doesn't make going to prison seem quite as bad. And then the last one, and this is the craziest one, is what you were mentioning earlier. So you were mentioning that just in isolated cases, but Biden wants across the country, nationally, to eliminate cash bail. He just wants it gone.
Awesome. Fantastic. Great idea.
Yeah,
Great
no
idea. 'Cause
incentive to return or show up. Yeah, just walk right out.
you get your second chances a lot quicker if there's no bail.
Oh yeah, I'll bet for sure. And moreover, you see a lot of dangerous criminals that are a blatant flight risk. Oh, they'll go too. Oh, okay.
We can trust them. They're good people.
Or people, as we see in Portland, why do you think they're raising over $1 million for their bail so they can go out and riot again? That's what it is. They're covering for each other.
Yeah, it's like one of the mainstays for any society is having prisons that severely punish people who break the law. If you have these, nice
Not
resort-
in Europe, not in West Europe, or you remember in Norway the mass murderer who sued the state and won for having a torturously old PS2.
Can I have his PS2? I love PS2.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, you can point to those examples and say that they work, and I can think of a few reasons why they might work, but I think if you're going to give me a choice, I would rather have prisons that you don't want to go to, where, oh man, if I get caught for this, this is not going to be fun. Maybe I shouldn't commit the crime.
I absolutely agree. And that's a big topic, but restorative versus punitive justice, and it's because we've become a soft society. We've become very tolerant, very permissive, very meek. And not the good kind of meek that's kind of in the Bible, but the bad kind where you let evil flourish.
Yeah.
And
Well,
so everything's just, we just want restorative justice, which means no, we don't really want to punish anyone. We just, we're going to reintegrate everyone into society, and they. I'll let you comment.
with no police,
Oh, yeah.
we're gonna release everybody from prison. We don't need prison anymore. We also don't need police, and everything's gonna be hunky dory. Well, one of my favorite quotes, and I've mentioned this before, we've talked about it before, but permissiveness is the path to perdition,
Oh yeah.
and we're seeing that. It's happening right
it's
in front of us.
horrifying. And you just look at this.
Never could have imagined that I would see something like this happen.
You look
but
at the complete breakdown
it's
of
happening.
relations between the sexes, where it's just this. We look like Crete, just having these in the cities. They organize orgies, and there's these open relationships, and men are increasingly permissive of their partners, just cheating on them and so forth. It's terrible.
Well, that's empowering for women.
No, nothing more empowering than
You're an
letting
ally.
a stranger do their business on them.
Plow your beloved.
No,
Just
nothing more empowering.
rail
for sure.
her.
But this is what is being celebrated, and that's what's being tolerated, apparently. As you mentioned, permissiveness is the path to perdition, but it's also increasingly horrid crime, and it's that weird. And there was an article I saw on the news once, which was white people are just going to have to accept that, accept more crime or accept being less safe or something of that sort in order for racial justice to be guaranteed.
No, I'm good. Let's get rid of racial justice and be safer.
Oh, absolutely.
That's better.
But again, it's as you mentioned, a lot of these people coming from these committees, they have given up on safety. They've given up on order. It wasn't always this way. You can look at people such as Jesse Lee Peterson, who will talk about it when he was young. He grew up in a plantation in the South, and he says, he lived in a almost exclusively black community, but they were good moral men. Nobody ever really committed violent crimes. It was unheard of. People were married. People had families. And you look at it now, and it's worse than it has ever been.
Well,
not just for black people, but also for white people.
one of the things it's a delusion that a lot of people fall for. Permissiveness is the path to perdition, but people also believe that it's the fastest path to being morally good. We'll accept everybody. We'll be more accepting and we'll be more inclusive, and that makes us good people. And that's one delusion that a lot of people hold.
That's just a cope post.
Well, a lot of people actually believe that being more inclusive.
It's the centrist coping of not actually taking a stand for anything, for not having a spine. Oh, well, no, it's not that.
Well, a lot of lefties take it. It's not strictly a centrist.
Well, I know this.
A lot of lefties think that if you open your heart and you open your soul to furries and degenerates and drug addicts, that you'll heal them and elevate yourself.
You're not going to heal them. They don't want you to heal them either. In fact, thinking about
they think that you're going to heal them or heal society. Or something.
If you think that it's healing them, then you're committing a thought crime because you're thinking it's wrong.
No.
They would say,
fucking understand these people.
Yeah, you really have to rack your mind to get into the mind of a lefty, and we're going to try that a little bit later. But before that, we have Biden's plan to strengthen the Federal Reserve's focus on racial economic gaps. And so the Fed should not just focus on promoting maximum employment and stable process. So that's bad. Trump focusing on maximum employment, that is not ideal. Well, he should aggressively target persistent racial gaps in jobs, wages, and wealth. Do you have any comment?
Man, it's retarded. That's the only thing I can say about all of this.
It's the same thing when they talk about the difference in between the sexes in employment. There's certain jobs men do that women don't, but they only talk about the cushy jobs. They'll talk about CEOs. They'll talk about let's say
not trash.
They're not going to talk about bricklayers or what have you. And it's the same thing with the different. Naturally, the idea that you'll have uniform parity between the races across all jobs, there is no basis in reality that should suggest that is the case. That is nonsense.
Yeah, equity is unrealistic in just about any sense you can imagine. No group of people, no matter the race, the creed, the sex, whatever. I mean, you can't find absolute equality among any group
and there
of
will
people,
be
really.
in different regions of the country where there's different availabilities of jobs, different local cultures, different values, different religious groups, and so forth. But then they talk about wages and wealth, and differences in jobs naturally create these disparities, as well as, shall we say, overrepresentations and crimes and so forth. It's all into this system which causes this.
We should be encouraging more people to be bricklayers and trashmen and stuff like that. That's honest work. Who wants to be a CEO? Degenerate, sneaky, lying.
Well, it depends on the CEO. So there's a long.
Yeah, I know, but there's a lot
of
of gamesmanship and stuff with CEOs. I mean,
that's true.
And who's going to be a CEO? It's a hyper productive position where you have to work 120 hours, and it's a miserable life. Even if it looks glamorous, I wouldn't. I'd rather be a bricklayer. That's just when we talk about honest work. It's
if I were to work as CEO, I would retire early so I could care for my family. But with a lot of these jobs, it doesn't have to be a CEO. It could be an investor. It could be a money man of some sort.
Right, but it's these high ranking.
That's what they care about.
High ranking things. The thing is that back to laying bricks. When you get done with your bricklaying on any given day, you can actually see the fruits of your labor manifest themselves out in the real world. You're a banker, you're a CEO. I mean, it's present in numbers and stuff, but I don't know. There's something different about actually
Well,
looking
I
upon
would
the
agree
things
with
that
you.
you've
And this
you've
was
made.
Henry Ford's criticism of bankers and the like is that, and I've told you this one a number of times. One of my favorite things is, say what you will about the oligarchs of the past, the oil barons, or what have you. They actually produced something. They gave us oil. They
Yeah,
gave us
yeah.
railroads and logistics. But now all the big barons, all these oligarchs, are just bankers. They're money movers. They don't actually produce anything. They become billionaires or unimaginably wealthy by just moving other people's money around.
And they don't do anything with the
Yeah.
money. They just sit on it. Go build a church or a
Well, they
nice community
do,
center or
but
something where people can.
they definitely do things with the money, but we're not allowed to talk about that so
Oh,
much.
okay.
That was an
Anyway.
assassination attempt in New York related to that when a certain Deutsche Bank was
no.
being pursued for negligence with their use of money, shall we say. But
Oh, well, hopefully they earmark some money for a nice public park or something one of these days where people can actually, they can actually contribute to society in a
when you say
tangible way.
parks like that, it reminds me of a film I'd always recommend that has a great and brilliant moral to it. Is by Akira Kurosawa. It's called Ikiru, and you can find it English subbed for free on
Oh,
the
yeah.
internet because it was made in the 1950s. Brilliant film, and
I'm familiar with the film. I don't think I've seen it.
yeah, it's about a salaryman with I think it's stomach cancer. He's dying, and he decides for the first time in his life to do something worthwhile, and so he invests every last energy to just trying to get a park in his local area. And it's a bureaucratic night because he's a bureaucrat. It's a nightmare trying to get the stupid park made. He's pulling in every little favor that he can. People are threatening him. Everybody's, yeah, I'll get to it next week. Fudging bureaucrats. He can't. He kind of gets self-aware, and it just comes to really detest bureaucrats. Yeah, but he gets the park done in the end. Well, I don't want to spoil the whole thing, but it deals with existentialism. It's a great film with a good moral. But anyways, so the last thing is a real-time payment system for specifically people of color, but black people really.
Of
A
course.
real-time payment, of course, just means there's no holding period for any, he describes the money owed to black people. So usually you have a holding period for any check, maybe 7 days or what have you. And the idea is that the bank is trying to confirm that the funds can indeed be transferred, but specifically for them, he just wants to waive that. Give it the money to them immediately.
Good idea.
Yeah, what could go wrong?
That's how you run a country, folks. That's how you run a country. Joe Biden, everybody. Biden Harris, 2020.
And then
Let's vote.
He also has with agriculture, and this is just indicative of his policy for every industry, so I'll just quickly go by the bullet points. Wants government to focus on helping non-whites buy and keep farmland, expedited credit, low
Oh my
interest
God.
loans,
Jesus
technical
Christ.
assistance,
How did you
etc.
read all of this?
Yeah, and
God, it's just a long
it's misery.
list of help black people and the white people suck
Well, yeah,
and they don't
yeah,
need
that's
any help.
the whole
and
thing. We need
to hell
black
with them.
people, diversity quotas everywhere. We need to just hand them money. We need to give them real-time payments. We need the HUD to just start and guarantee housing. Just
Oh man.
But
Oh man. Well,
the buying farmland
Oh, go
reminds me of Zimbabwe especially.
right. Yeah, I think it reminds a lot of people of that. You've heard that comparison cited a lot these days, recent months. A lot of people are starting to click into that, and it's a scary reality to have to,
Oh,
if we ever have to deal
and
with
on
that.
to what you mentioned earlier. So it's not, and you were absolutely right. It's not just giving it to black people. That is positions in different institutions, government bureaucracies. It's specifically, and this is their phrasing. He wants to stack every level of the USDA with people who have, and I quote, demonstrated commitment to supporting black, brown, and native farmers.
Oh, that's lovely. That's so noble, so righteous. Oh, you gotta love this guy.
Yeah, and the last thing I'll mention, and this is just about the immigration policy. He wants to give blanket protection for illegal farm workers, so he just wants to give them all a path to citizenship.
Well, I noticed his rationalization for giving amnesty or bringing in more immigrants is that they're suspected to contribute $460 billion to the economy over the next 10 years. That's why we need more, because they're going to contribute all this money. What's the yearly GDP of the United States? It's something like $1 trillion.
Something of that sort. But moreover, I think it's almost impossible to calculate what really is the net gain for illegal labor. Not to mention, what you could describe as some of that is the poor working conditions in farms, that they're not, say, being guaranteed the proper minimum wage or different protections, and so of course you're generating, because they're working slave labor effectively in those cases. So are they counting that as a net contribution? They become citizens. That drops dramatically overnight. That's the whole point of having them, which, don't get me wrong, that's not a good thing, but that's what you would be counting in that sense. But also, we don't know the extent to which they're also drawing on the system. We don't know the costs.
Yeah, that was what I was going to say. They don't mention how much they take out of the system,
we
how
don't
much
know.
It costs to. Right. Well, we don't
even know how many are in the country. They
say
say anywhere from, 11 million to 33 million. That's a big gap. That's a really big gap.
That's a big gap. Oh, and some of them are going to be voting in November. So.
Oh yeah, that's them and the deceased. The Democrats' most, how shall we say, solid voting base.
Oh man. All right, well, let's move on to our last segment of the night. I guess it's our only official segment. It's From the Depths of the Left, where you hand pick some choice selections that you've found on the internet to share with the world. So why don't you go ahead and get us started with your selections for today?
Oh, I suppose, but we didn't talk so much about we did, sorry. So my first selection will be, and I have here, we've covered so much today. I'm losing.
That's okay, just
so
go
this
on,
one
man.
has
It's
almost,
fine.
at least when I took the picture, almost 10,000 likes. This comes from a blue check mark at Winter Mitchell with a Y, Winter, that is.
Mm-hmm.
And it says, "I'll see your Kyle Rittenhouse cleaning graffiti and raise you a Ted Bundy doing dishes."
Oh, well, Ted Bundy. Wow. We all know who Ted Bundy is. And it's in the same sentence as Kyle Rittenhouse, so...
Oh, and the pictures
he
are
must
side
be
to side as
Ted
well.
Bundy. Yeah, and the pictures are Kyle is cleaning up... Well, it says he's cleaning up graffiti, and yeah, I mean, that's what he's doing, and Ted Bundy's standing next to a woman washing a dish.
Yeah, they're exactly, doing your own dishes, this would be akin to wiping yourself after using the restroom, I suppose.
Yeah.
That's the same thing as...
He probably viciously killed that woman, too. I'm not sure. I don't know this picture,
I don't either. But I would say...
he's a cold-blooded murderer, so...
that's the...
It's not even close.
They're trying to say it is, though. That's the whole point of something of this sort. Because that's...
This is so retarded.
Well, it's
so
as I say,
retarded.
it's just outright evil, and it shows you where they stand. I'm just reiterating what I said last episode, but they want to destroy a good kid. They want to say he's the same as Ted Bundy, because it's for...
Yeah, but they don't even do a good job of doing it.
Well, they're not sending their
really
best.
stupid.
Well, the problem with Twitter, we talked about this before as well, is that their capacity to be entertaining or make coherent or cogent points has been muted by the lack of criticism or scrutiny by people who would otherwise provide it, because Twitter calls them constantly. And so this is the best you get in the end. You get Reddit tier posts.
Yeah.
And speaking of, we need to get
tier
Reddit
posts.
on here one of these days, but we don't have Reddit.
Well, I mean, this is the segment. This is where we're gonna.
This is where we would put Reddit.
This is where we're gonna put the Reddit Roundhouse. Yeah, but well, for today we have one more entry, and we'll go ahead and end on that.
Yeah, it's a big subject, but so it was in response to someone talking about abolishing the minimum wage and letting the markets sort themselves out, and the big brain response was abolish laws, let the people sort themselves out, which I'm pretty sure, I wouldn't be surprised if this person isn't an anarchist anyways, which is what they want.
Right. I mean, it seems like that's the likeliest
So
scenario. I mean, these people are all just upset because they suck at this game.
Exactly.
They can't win the game, so let's blow up the game.
Well, absolutely, but
and everybody else has to suffer
let's
too.
address the fact that this is a failed analogy as well. So this specifically deals with the markets, whereas laws are not a market. So, and what I would say is, yeah, specifically that the common judge, and this is what I mentioned last episode, to whom punitive authority is surrendered to and centralized, is not a market. So there are different markets. There's the physical market, which is dealing in goods. There's of course the market. There's the labor market, which is a bit special because it's inverse with the supply and demand. There's what we would consider the money market, so to speak. I don't remember the formal names for all of them. I'd have to do some review. But the point being, though, is that the sacred role of the state is the protection of property rights, and that is not a market. That's a moot point.
The thing is that a lot of these people, they grow up believing that markets themselves are oppressive and racist or what have you, so they're almost militaristic. And
That's because their perception of the markets is outdated. It comes from the mid 19th century, which was a very different context, which is when Marx wrote about it, and Marx did have a lot of valid criticisms for the markets or the state of capitalism.
He was also a stinky hobo.
He was, but he did have valid observations and criticisms of it.
Yeah, sure. But
they
let's not
think
forget he was
it
a stinky
still
hobo.
is the exact same today, and it's not, just to say the least.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. We talked a little bit about minimum wage, and I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan of it. I don't think it's a band-aid. You just rip it off and everything goes back to normal. But I'm definitely in favor of scaling back until it's not an issue. It's not in existence anymore. But anyway, we are up against our time limit for today, so let's go ahead and wrap things up here.
All right.
Yeah, we got through a lot today. Do you have any closing statements before we sign off for the night?
Sarah Sanders should have taken one for the team, and
Yeah, we didn't even get to that
there's
one.
too much to cover. But
We could talk about that later. Yeah, Sarah Sanders, she should have taken Kim Jong Un's one
and
for the team.
And of course, be wary of evil, and do not be permissive of evil either. But also be smart about it. Don't just think, well, I need to start attacking people who are evil. That's nonsensical, and that would not be productive. You have to be wise. You have to be smart. You have to be patient. These are all virtues, especially patience, that are mentioned in the Bible. So be wise, patient, virtuous, and wary of evil. I'll just leave it at that.
All right. Well, as always, that's a great way to close things up, and it's been a pleasure. We'll see you next time on Red Weather Radio.